We can get pretty much anything delivered to our door with just a single click. Food, clothes, electronics, you name it. But what about our medicine? Is that something we should be ordering online? It's a huge question, and the convenience factor is tempting. But are the risks that come with it worth it? Let's get into it.
Yeah, this is really the heart of the whole conversation. Should medicine be as easy to get as, say, a pizza? It sounds simple, but it's really not. The answer, whatever it is going to have a massive impact on our entire public health system. Okay, so before we dive into all the risks and what ifs, let's take a look at the system that Turkey already has. It's often called a digital fortress, and honestly, for good reason. It's called the Drug Tracking System, or ITS for short. The idea behind the EITS is actually really clever. Every single box of medicine gets its own unique code. Think of it like a fingerprint. Because of this, it's almost impossible for fake or expired drugs to sneak into the supply chain. Everything is tracked and recorded right from the factory all the way to the patient. So how does that actually work day to day? Well, that little medicine box goes on quite a journey, and it's tracked every step of the way. First, it gets its unique label at the factory, then it's scanned when it arrives at the warehouse. It gets scanned again when it gets to the pharmacy, and finally, there's one last scan right before it's handed over to you. It's a system of checkpoints that guarantees it's the real deal. And look, this isn't just a local thing that people are proud of. The International Pharmaceutical Federation itself has called Turkey a pioneer in this space. I mean, that's a huge endorsement. It basically positions this system as a world-class model for how to do drug safety right. So who are the people on the ground making all this work? It's the pharmacists. There are over 31,000 pharmacies all across Turkey. Now, to put that number into perspective for you, that is more than all the major supermarket chains combined. It's this huge, incredible healthcare network that reaches into every single corner of the country. Now, with a system that's so secure, you might be thinking, well, what's the big deal about online sales then? But this is where it gets complicated. Experts are raising some serious red flags. So let's flip the coin and look at the other side, the potential risks. The Turkish Pharmacists Association has laid out some really serious warnings. They're worried about things like counterfeit and even toxic products getting to people. They're concerned about our private health data not being protected. They're worried about people using medicine incorrectly without a professional to guide them. And this is a big one, losing that crucial counseling role the pharmacist plays. And, of course, there's the risk of the whole market just being taken over by a few giant companies. And believe me, the risk of counterfeit drugs isn't just some theoretical threat. It is very, very real. Just look at the UK. In a single year, authorities there seized 20 million doses of fake and illegal medicines. 20 million. And where were most of them sold? You guessed it, online, through social media and shady websites. The scale of this problem is just staggering. But what about the role of the pharmacist in all of this? What happens to that person? A pharmacist in Norway put it so powerfully. They said, I went from being a health advisor to being a sales clerk. I started seeing my neighbors not as patients, but as customers. You see, when healthcare starts being about hitting sales targets, we all lose. This is a really big concern. And this brings us to a really, really important point. The term e-commerce for medicine isn't just one thing. There are actually two completely different models out there, and you have to understand the difference to really get what this whole debate is about. Okay, here's the key difference. On one side, you have these open public platforms. Their main focus is on price and convenience for everybody, but that openness comes with a really high risk of counterfeit products. On the other side, you have what are called closed-loop systems. These are only for licensed pharmacists. Their whole goal is making the system more efficient and safe, which makes the risk extremely low. So while they both use technology, what they're trying to do and their safety levels are worlds apart. So what's a real-world benefit of one of these closed-loop systems? Well, get this. A staggering 16 million boxes of medicine were saved from just being thrown away. How? Simple. Pharmacists who had too much of one medicine could easily transfer it to other pharmacists who needed it. That's a huge win for the economy and for the environment. So where does all this leave us? The push for online medicine isn't just going to disappear. The real question we have to ask is, how can we use technology and its convenience without throwing safety out the window? The challenge isn't about resisting change. It's about shaping it in a smart way that puts public health first. But if we're going to build a safe online system, we have to face some tough questions. For example, Can a delivery company really get to a remote village as reliably as the local pharmacy that's been there for generations? And then there's the human part of it. When a package just shows up at your door, who is going to be there to explain how to take the medicine correctly? Who's going to warn you about possible side effects? That expert advice is such a critical part of staying safe. And here's a big one. What happens in a crisis? Imagine an earthquake or the power is out, there's no internet. What happens to a system that's completely online? The physical pharmacies have shown time and again how incredibly resilient they are in the toughest situations. Can an online system ever match that? And this really gets to the core philosophy of the Turkish Pharmacists Association. They believe that when it comes to medicine, the competition should be about who has the most knowledge to help you, not just who has the lowest price. The value isn't just in the product, it's in the professional expertise that keeps you safe. So at the end of the day, we're left with this huge question: convenience versus safety. Is it really an either-or? Do we have to pick one? Or can we find a smart way to use technology to actually improve our health without compromising the safety and trust we all rely on? That's the real challenge we need to solve as we figure out what comes next.